Hello and welcome to No Sevens Dice Club. Thank you guys for tuning in today. We are going to go over some college sports predictions for week 4, 2022. So last week, week 3 was the best week ever I've had since 2019. 7-0. I swept the board last week. 7-0. In fact, I made some side bets after I shot this video during Saturday. Late night, pack after dark bets. I bet the over on the Utah San Diego State. It was 21-0 at halftime, and the over was 41.5. And I was like, I'll throw $5 on that, and I won that one. I took the Georgia spread, like I mentioned to you on Saturday. I took the Georgia minus 24 plus the over at 49.5. Won that one. Took the LSU spread. The Georgia one I won with 50 seconds left, man. We'll talk about holding your breath along with the Florida State game last week. Super crazy stuff. Everything. I mean, I won everything. The money line bets, the point parlay bets, just everything. I was just everything was looking like roses last week. Great win. First time since 2019 I had that big of a win. 7-0. So right now we're 14-6. 14 wins, 6 losses. All right. Week 4 notes. We just went over the middle. So week 4, Coach Frost is out in Nebraska. Now, if you remember Coach Frost, he was the UCF coach that declared himself the national champion, because they went undefeated, and he rigged up some kind of scale where, Florida, UCF was better than Alabama and everything else, and he was trying to get to play Alabama that year because Alabama won the national championship, the real championship, and Nick Saban goes, please, man, I don't want to embarrass you, man, just stop talking. We're not gonna play. And I don't know if you guys remember that a few years back. It was kind of funny. And then the next year, after they declared that they were national champs, they went and they played at the Fiesta Bowl, and they played against LSU. And that's when that really sorry guys, that really bad play where the guy from UCF took that cheap shot and hit Joe Burrow and blindsided him, and that should have been the target, and it should have been an ejection and everything else. It was a really dirty shot and really looked bad for UCF. But after that hit, Joe Burrow gets up and never loses another college football game again after that Fiesta Bowl. And LSU goes and wins that game. And so they're no longer the national champs, no longer whatever else bandwagon they were trying to portray. Well, anyway, but he was losing games at Nebraska with like 1-point losses. And, it wasn't like significant blowouts, it was 1-point losses. He stole our coach from LSU, Mickey Joseph, who's a really good coach. I'm sorry, guys. I'm dealing with something this week. I don't know what it is. So I'm going to try to get through this. Hopefully I don't cough too much. I apologize. Next up is I got an email from one of the viewers. And he says, No Sevens, we know that you're like SEC teams and you made your prediction and stuff. But what about Ohio State and Michigan? Those are 2 really good teams, and I am looking forward to seeing it. I believe they're going to be playing in Michigan this year, if I remember correctly, if I looked at the schedule. I can't remember, so don't hold me to that. Can Ohio State and Michigan both make it into the college football playoffs? They have just as much of a chance, in my eyes, just as much of a chance making it into the college football playoffs this year as much as Alabama and Georgia does. We still have a long way to go. We're in week 4, 2 more weeks, and we'll be halfway through the season. Pretty crazy how fast college football rolls around. That email that you sent will be decided at the end of the year, but my perspective that you're asking for, Ohio State and Michigan has just as much chance as the Alabama and Georgia because they play each other. So we shall see. But Ohio State and Michigan will play each other in the regular season, and I'm not sure if they're going to play in the conference championship. I don't know how those teams all work up there. But we shall see. That email will be answered at the end of the year. So that's the way I'm going to leave it. All right. So we spent enough time with that. Let's get on to these picks. I won a bunch of, I won all my games last week. So I'm going for the gusto. I'm going for it all this week. So these picks and these spreads are as good as of Monday when I'm shooting this video. So week 4, 2022, Kansas State at Oklahoma. Kansas State lost in an upset to Tulane. Hard to believe. Oklahoma's looking like the real deal. They're really gelling. I forgot what the score was last week on Oklahoma, but Kansas State is going to be a salty dog in this. They're really upset that they lost to Tulane. It's kind of embarrassing. They're still trying to get their program right, but that should have never have happened last week. Oklahoma's only minus 13. This score by come Saturday, Oklahoma will probably be minus 17.5. So if I was you, I'll go ahead and take this lock. I really like Oklahoma in this. Not because Tulane beat Kansas State, because Oklahoma, I think, is probably going to win. They're really clicking, and they're doing a really, really good job. So they might win the conference. That's going to be a really great game against Texas. They also have Baylor too and Texas Tech. So I mean, it's really close. But in this game, Kansas State's not either one of those teams. So I like Oklahoma minus 13. 7 p.m. Central is the time. So really great game at night. So let's go ahead and lock it in. Oklahoma minus 13. All right. So next up is New Mexico at LSU. LSU's minus 29.5. These are all spreads as of Monday when I'm shooting this video. New Mexico went in there and played them, I think it was 4 or 5 years ago. And the students who came into New Mexico, when they walked into the stadium, they were just awestruck. They couldn't believe they were playing in such a big stadium, because they were showing their stadium and it only holds, I think, like 2,000, 2,500 people, and LSU holds almost 110,000. I mean, it's pretty crazy. So the size difference. Last time this game was, I think it was about 4 or 5 years ago. LSU won this game. I think it was 60-0 or 50-0 or 50-7. It was just a complete topple over. So I really like LSU minus 29.5. And also, when they played Southern 2 weeks ago, they scored 37 points in the first quarter, not half, quarter. So LSU minus 29.5, I would take that all day long. 6:30 p.m. Central Time. So let's go ahead and lock that pick in. LSU minus 29.5. All right. Vanderbilt at Alabama. I'm telling you, Alabama's reliving the 2019 season for LSU. So Alabama, except for LSU went to Vandy, but in the LSU Vandy game in 2019, Joe Burrow scored, I think it was 5 or 6 touchdowns in the first half of that game. I expect pretty much the same thing in this. In fact, I probably see about 6 touchdowns with Bryce Young and all them. So let's go ahead. I mean, this is no competition. Vanderbilt, is one of the weaker teams in the SEC. They're playing at Alabama. Alabama's just going to keep on rolling. I think it's going to be kind of like the UL Monroe game, how it was last week when it was like 63-7. And if you took Alabama on that 59.5 on Saturday, you actually lost that bet, crazy enough, on that point spread. But I like Alabama minus 40.5 in this. Vandy might score a touchdown, or 2 in garbage time at the end of the fourth quarter. But Alabama's going to roll. They're going to have about 40 points in the first half. So Bama minus 40.5. All right, next up, Kent State at Georgia. There's not a lot of competition this week, guys. You know, it's kind of an off week for week 4. It's like everybody just decided all grouped together and just played these weaker teams. I won that bet with 50 seconds left on South Carolina and Georgia. That was a crazy. South Carolina threw that touchdown. It was the only touchdown scored against Georgia. Their defense is really humming. So with that being said, I am going to take Georgia minus 42.5. But the main part that when you take these overs and when you notice that this is going to be 42, you got to realize Georgia, no matter if it's the first string to the last string, they take pride on not allowing their opponents to score any points. That's their, Kirby Smart makes sure that nobody scores points against them, and he holds them to that standard. And he was really, really upset that South Carolina scored that touchdown. And so, what I'm trying to say is that if Georgia's minus 42.5, you have to expect that Georgia has to score all 42 or 43 points to cover this spread. So if it's higher, like 49, 50, you have to expect Georgia to do all the work because they're not going to let their other team score points, even in garbage time. So Georgia minus 42.5, we know that they can cover this spread. Now, if it's on Saturday, if it's at 49, 50, 55, I wouldn't take that. I would probably lean more towards Kent State or just not even play this. But Georgia minus 42.5, we'll take that because we know Georgia's going to at least score 45 points in this game. So let's go ahead and lock it in. Georgia minus 42.5. All right, guys. Next up, Wisconsin at Ohio State. I promise I'll get to you some kind of good games around here. So Wisconsin at Ohio State. Ohio State's minus 17.5. This is going to be a really good game. And it's depending on what the over-under is. I didn't write them down because I ran out of room on my board this week. I like to do the over-unders and the money line spreads for you guys. But this week I just didn't do it. So Wisconsin, it's at 6:30 p.m. Central Time. It's playing at Ohio State. Ohio State, well, I forgot what the score was last week. It was like 77 to something. I couldn't believe it. I almost made sure I wasn't looking at a basketball game or something. 77 points. Whatever offensive problems they had, I know it was a weaker opponent, but man, they're starting to look like they're getting that offense rolling. And which is going to lead us up to the Michigan, because Ohio State and Michigan, if there's no defense in both of those in that game when they play each other, man, that over is probably going to be, over-under is probably going to be 100 points. Anyway, Ohio State at Wisconsin. This is always a tough physical game. Wisconsin at Ohio State. It's always a tough physical game, defensive game. It's what you always think about Wisconsin, just a physical game. Ohio State's minus 17.5. I think that we're still early for this. If you want to, you can buy it down to minus 14. It's going to cost you a little bit of money. But either way, I feel pretty confident minus 17.5 because they're playing at Ohio State. And Wisconsin doesn't have that much of an offense. They never really do. And they always lean more towards the defense. And that defense can only be on the field for so long before they just get worn out. So I really like Ohio State in this. Hopefully that offense keeps on rolling like it did last week. And I think they're going to cover this by the end of the third quarter. So let's go ahead and take Ohio State minus 17.5. All righty, guys. So next up, Maryland at Michigan. This is an 11 a.m. game. And our next one, we have 3 11 a.m. games. We have Kent State at Georgia, Maryland at Michigan, and Clemson at Wake Forest. So grab 3 TVs. Call up your buddy and say, hey, man, I need to borrow your TV. So grab 3 TVs, watch all of them at once if you want, or just watch Maryland and Clemson game, at 11 a.m. Either way, so let's go over Maryland at Michigan. Michigan is rolling with their offense. Their defense seems to be gelling right now. Maryland's always got a really good offense. This year, it's kind of like hum, you're really trying to figure it out. They always seem to play Michigan a little tough. And so I'm really looking forward to this game. And I had to really kind of think about the Maryland-Michigan game for a while if I was going to take this. because they always seem to play them tough, especially in the first half of the game before kind of Michigan walks away. I'm going out on a limb, and I'm going to take Michigan minus 17.5 in this game because of what I'm seeing this year. Now, if Michigan disappoints me, then I won't. I'll put them on the blacklist, and I'm not going to bet on Michigan anymore. Every time in the past few years that I've gone out on Michigan, they tried to hurt me, but this year I'm feeling like they deserve a chance. So I'm going to take Michigan minus 17.5. We're going to see how good their defense and offense is. They're the number 4 team right now. So let's see if they're worthy of the number 4 spot and to be on the board with no 7s. So we're going to give them a shot this year. Michigan minus 17.5. Maryland's going to keep it close, but I think by going into the third and fourth quarter, Michigan should start walking away from them and showing that they belong as the number 4 team in the nation. All right, next up, Clemson at Wake Forest. So right now we have, I had a person email me the other day and says, you should have went over to Clemson, Louisiana Tech. That game could have really gone either way. Clemson has a really good defense, but their offense, is like, they're still trying to figure out all the parts and pieces and everything else. Wake Forest is you roll the dice on them, man. You never know what you're going to get week by week or season by season with Wake Forest. One year they're keeping up with the top of the ACC. The next they're on the bottom of the ACC. You never know with the Demon Deacons, of Wake Forest. You just never know what you're going to get. I mean, you might as well just roll the dice. But Clemson minus 7.5, and I imagine this is probably going to be minus 14 come game time. This is also 11 a.m. kickoff Central Time. But being under a touchdown and Clemson's defense being what they are this year, I really do like Clemson in this game. So I'm not really going to speculate and go over all this because I'm running on my time. So let's go ahead and take Clemson minus 6.5. So that covers all 7 games of who I like: Oklahoma, LSU, Bama, Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan, and Clemson. All right, so the point parlays. This is who I like. I started doing this last week. I did 2 of them. I'm feeling a little lucky, I'm hoping I keep the win streak going. So the first one I like is the Georgia money line. Yes. Simple enough. Georgia money line. You can't go wrong with that one. Next up, I like LSU minus 29.5. I like Bama minus 40.5. And I like Oklahoma minus 13. Combine all those, combine a 4-leg parlay. And we're going to put some money on there and see if we can't win some money. That's my prediction. That's who I like. Next up, we're going to do another point parlay. Let's do Ohio State, Michigan, and Georgia. Ohio State minus 17.5, Michigan minus 17.5, Georgia minus 42.5. That's the other one. That's the 3-leg parlay that I like. Now, if you don't want to, you can also do a round robin. It's going to cost you a little bit more money. Won't make as much, but you have a better chance of winning. So that's the nice thing about round robins. And then I'm going to do the money line picks next. All right, with no surprise, it's all the teams I picked this week. So, in money line, Georgia, LSU, Bama, Oklahoma, Ohio State, Michigan, and Clemson. All right, so I get emails all the time, and I keep on explaining this to you guys. I'm not trying to win and bet the farm on guaranteed wins because it could go completely south. One of these teams could lose. I do this just for a couple extra dollars to help pay for the fees and everything else that you got to pay for, because you don't get paid the true odds when you do sports bets. So that's why I do these money line. And I'll bet $10 and I'll win $13 or $14, $3 or $4 after it's all paid out. And you're like, man, you're not making any money, but it all averages out because you don't get paid on your true odds when you are betting, because you bet $5, say you bet $5 on Oklahoma to win minus 13, you're going to get paid, in some it's $9.55, some it's $9.75. Instead of you getting paid the full $10, because you're taking the favorite team who's going to win, obviously. So, and that's that little 50 cents or 25 cents or whatever it may be, is going back to the house to keep the casino rolling. Well, that's fine. So in order to combat that, we'll take the guaranteed money line bet. We'll put $10 on the guaranteed money that we're going to win. And so we'll win $3 or $4. And that pays, it gives you back your true odds for the favorites. So instead of you're losing, like you got 7, so you're going to lose, like $3, with all these favorite wins, roughly, give or take. You're going to make it right back up with the money line, the guaranteed money line bets. So it's just something that how No Sevens looks at this. So that's the way I do my math, and everything else is I try to find, while the house has their edge, that's fine. I try to get back my house edge with myself on another way, and that's the guaranteed money line picks. That's the reason why I do it. Just a little feather in your cap, trying to teach you guys on how No Sevens tries to outsmart the casino, or hopefully anyway. But anyway, I'm way over on my time, and we're coming up to 21 minutes. So I really appreciate it. Let's we can go for another week, another great undefeated week, going 7 teams this time, and 2-point parlays and a money line parlay. Next week, I'm going to try to do it. I'm going to be in a remote location, and the week after, I'm going to be hopefully back here, but it'll be very late at the week if I do it. So either way, good luck this week, good luck next week, and the following week. And worst case scenario, No Sevens will catch up with you on week 7, and we'll go from there. So good luck, everybody. Thank you for tuning in, and I will see you on the flip side.